What's up all my paper napers? It's me, Naper. So the other day I was painstakingly forcing myself to play some Hypixel Parkour when I stumbled upon a particularly strange map. See, the housing of choice for that day was quite ordinary in the grand scheme of Hypixel housing, however, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I've provided footage of the housing as the background for this video so you can see for yourself what I'm about to explain. But first, allow me to walk you through the typical experience of joining and completing your average Hypixel housing parkour. When you first join a housing, you are greeted by a welcome message that appears in the chat to let everyone know of your esteemed arrival. Once you're done greeting the plebeians and decide to actually take part in the reason you joined in the first place, assuming you even like parkour and aren't just here to loiter, you can decide to take your first steps into the vast unknown. Of course, your first steps begin with the parkour start pressure plate found at the start of every housing Hypixel parkour. This lets you know that you have successfully begun your run, and a timer usually appears on the sidebar to your right. During your run of a housing parkour, you encounter a usually poorly scaled, subtle increase in the difficulty as you go along. Although a lot of housing owners tend to not understand what is easy and what is hard for the middle sections of these maps, they still abide by the simple rule that easy jumps go in the beginning and hard jumps go at the end. Once you nearly escape the labyrinth of poorly designed levels, you are met with a final boss, a final challenge, one last obstacle. That jump usually being somewhat unique to the rest of the jumps in the housing. Whether it be longer, involves some cool mechanic, or it's just generally harder than the rest of the levels. After hours of attempts, you may just survive and finally reach the glorious end plate, rewarding you with a congratulatory message as well as the tally of your time in the chat, for all 6 people paying attention to the chat to gawk at. See, the scenario I've provided is rather uniform for the typical housing parkour Hypixel. However, for the parkour that I visited that fateful day, many of the characteristics you would expect were simply missing. For one, your holy entrance is completely discredited by an automated message reducing you to just an anonymous player. And the trend of anonymity doesn't stop there. Not only is your welcome message nonchalant and mysterious, but so too is your celebratory completion message. I mean, what's the point of playing if you get no recognition from all 2 people who ultimately say the 2 letters G and G in the chat? It's outrageous. If that wasn't bad enough, every time you fail one of these jumps, it mocks you with a hissing sound as if to call you out for the talentless garbage that you are. Aside from the mockery that is bestowed upon you, the parkour scaling itself is poorly paced, and jumps are poorly placed. And it overall feels like it was AI generated by a learning AI. Learning AI. Wait a second. Taking a look in the chat, I noticed a specific link to a thread on the Hypixel forums. What I found destroyed everything that I thought could be possible for a Hypixel housing parkour housing. I mean, this whole time I fully believed that this white bread of a housing was made by a real person. It had upset me on a deep fundamental level like a regular one would. Yet I knew something was off. Now I know why. 2 steps ahead. The whole thing was a sham. Just a front by some guys looking to prove a point, and a point they had proven. See, the whole housing and all its iterations of the same housing thereafter were auto-generated by AI. One push of a button. For those interested in how exactly this was done, I've linked the entire forum in the description. All the information about it is listed there as well as their Discord server. It's actually incredible how competently they were able to replicate the likeness of a real Hypixel housing. Especially considering it had managed to be #1 on housing every single time it regenerated. So, I've now presented you with a particularly interesting case. Proof of how Hypixel housing parkours are so easily replicated that even an AI model can replicate it and fool over 13,000 players. What point am I proving exactly? Well, now we know that housing parkour players will eat up whatever slop is placed in front of them as long as the words easy and parkour are slapped alongside the titles. Seriously, it doesn't even matter what words go in the middle. It could be easy watching paint dry parkour, and it would still find its way at the top of the page. Kind of like YouTube clickbait, actually. So if the quality of the parkour doesn't matter and you can just AI generate it, what's to stop everyone else from doing it? Leaving Hypixel housing as nothing but a wasteland of computer-generated layouts for people to record their AI-generated Reddit stories paired with their AI text-to-speech of SpongeBob SquarePants and Peter Griffin. What I'm trying to say here is that every day we drift further and further away from our creative selves, opting for easy ways to feed the content-consuming machine. And that doesn't just go for this specific housing or even just AI in general. Even before I found the truth about this parkour, I still felt myself somewhat fed up with the mediocrity and monotony of Hypixel housings. Or maybe I'm just looking too deep into these digital obstacle courses made for children. Regardless, Minecraft Parkour itself has found its way into every corner of the internet, whether it be YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, or TikTok videos. There's no escape. Before I had even thought to make this video, Minecraft Parkour was already synonymous with AI-generated brain rot. All this housing does is add fuel to the flame and further diminish any semblance of creativity associated with the game mode. So, to finish off this video, I'm giving you an assignment. But don't worry kids, it's just extra credit. I'd honestly like to know what your immediate thought process is when you hear the phrase Minecraft Parkour. Is it AI-generated brain rot, perhaps a specific memory of a certain map you played, or maybe a YouTuber you've watched? One person who I think has done an excellent job of displaying how something like Minecraft Parkour can be utilized to create something genuinely engaging and creative is Evbo and his Parkour Civilization series. It's kind of a silly premise, but I found myself enjoying it. It's loads better than AI-generated text-to-speech over parkour in the background, in my opinion. So that's it. Oh, and before I go, shout out NosNick3093 for winning the Paper Naper shoutout competition with this comment, "We're so back." Really resonated with my soul. So yeah, that's it.